Pokemon Legends ZA has established Pokemon Legends as an official series. So what we want to do today is analyze what makes Legends Arceus so special, what features in Pokemon we could see in Legends ZA, and finally, what other regions might Game Freak revisit and reimagine in the Legends style. Welcome back to Hidden Power. This is a Pokemon podcast. My name is DustyGogoat. Today I'm also joined by the LumiosePost, SoulSilverArt, and friend of the podcast, JPR Pokemon Trainer. JPR, thanks for joining us today, man. How you doing?
I'm doing great. Thank you guys for having me.
Absolutely, dude. This is going to be fun. Let's start off first by kind of defining and understanding what we like about Legends Arceus. I think there's a couple things that really define what the Arceus, at least what Legends Arceus did. I don't think we know yet what defines a Legends game. But there's a lot of really clear deviations from the standard like mainline games that kind of make Legends Arceus so special. I think things like, and you guys can jump in at any point, things like Alpha Pokemon, right? The crafting mechanic. I think the way you navigate the world and your player character
getting to drown,
jump and roll and drown. Right, that's another huge aspect.
Getting mauled by an Ursaring.
The ability to die definitely does.
The ability.
Those are the stakes that we're dealing with.
We've been given this gift.
You know, Pokemon is such a family-friendly game when we call dying an ability.
That's what I'm saying.
We can die.
Not just whiting out and losing all your money.
Right. Right.
JPR, so what are some things that you love about Legends Arceus? I mean, how about this? Maybe I'm putting words in your mouth. Do you love Legends Arceus?
Do you even love it?
I absolutely do love Legends Arceus. I'm actually kind of afraid to replay it because I think that the forced catching aspect might drag down like my opinion of the game.
Okay.
I've only played it one time, but that one time I thought was like absolutely amazing. I was like, this is the best Pokemon game since Black 2, White 2 in my opinion. Like easy S tier, I would say.
It was such a departure, honestly. And at that time, I was like, I remember kind of like losing faith in Game Freak. Like I was just a little bit like, all right,
well, my
Sword and Shield's okay.
Were in the basement for this game because I thought like it's obviously just gonna be a tech demo for Gen 9. Like they're not gonna do anything that crazy. And then lo and behold, they get like an actual like pretty well done video game, and I was like, where did this come from?
It gave me so much hope.
You could argue it's better made than Scarlet and Violet in terms of how the engine runs.
This to be the game that runs at like 10 FPS and Scarlet and Violet be finished, but we got the opposite.
Yeah.
Because of EWOW the GOAT, man.
True. It is because it's a different team. I mean, that's a big deal. Because a lot of people think that it's just all Game Freak doing the same thing.
Why does the Game Freak B team like cook so hard, actually?
Oh, yeah.
I know.
Well, you know, we say that, but were we saying that? I know I was not, but maybe you were. Were you saying that with Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee?
I don't.
Okay, they don't always cook.
I don't know if it was them. I don't know if it was them, though. I've never looked it up. If it was the B team.
I think it had to be purely because, like, Let's Go, you know, we've talked about this a little bit with, like, Steve from PKM Ncast, that, like, Let's Go feels like it was kind of like the first Legends game in a way. Like, in the sense that they experimented more with, let's focus on the catching aspect, let's change the mechanics a little bit.
Yeah. It's that departure from the core series. It's still still mainline, but it is a slightly different type of game.
A slightly garbage attempt, yes.
I don't think it's garbage, guys. Let's not be hyperbolic here.
No, it's not that garbage other than the stupid catching mechanic.
The catching mechanic,
it looks beautiful.
The forced watch this. How can you say this is garbage?
It is a good looking game. I can't lie.
It's really pretty. It's a pretty game.
Best looking game on the Switch.
Oh, dude, I want to go. But here's the thing. I want to go back to Kanto in a Legend style game. So what are the things that you are looking forward to seeing return in Legend ZA? Like, what are the aspects? Because in reality, we could get Legend ZA and not actually have a bunch of new things. Or we could not have a bunch of things like follow over from Legends Arceus, right?
So what defines a Legends game?
I think I'm most looking forward to like that Safari Zone style gameplay kind of making a return where it's like you can throw the bait at the Pokemon. There's like a lot more interaction with the wild Pokemon in general. I don't know if dying is gonna make a return though. Like it's gonna be weird. Like if the game is really set entirely in Lumio City, like they say, how are they gonna handle things like alpha Pokemon? Like I guess those just like won't be a thing, or they'll have like a different version of them.
That's a fair question.
That is a really good point.
You wouldn't expect like at Legends Arceus, you're out in like the wild in ancient Japan. Like death is like an actual threat, but like here it's like if you just jump off a building that's too high, will you die? Like is
maybe like I walk down a wrong alley in Lumio City and in front of a bunch of NPCs get beaten to death by a Scrafty? Is that gonna happen?
Maybe
it might.
Are they gonna take away the ability to die?
We've speculated that like there could be some sort of incorporation or some sort of like maybe the alpha Pokemon have a new name, but they kind of explain it through the power of Zygarde or through the power of Mega Evolution. Maybe some of these alpha Pokemon have Mega evolved and are being enraged due to their like forced Mega Evolution, and maybe that's whatever the evil team is doing.
That lines up with the anime too, honestly, like the Volcanium movie.
I almost wonder if it's going to be a much more like trainer-focused Legends game, because Legends Arceus was very like wild Pokemon focused. There's almost no trainers in the game.
Yeah.
But this one might be like, well, there's substantially less focus on wild Pokemon, but you get like to battle a lot more like powerful foes who use Mega Evolution more often.
I think that's totally possible. Yeah. I think that's definitely possible because
it makes sense too, because it has to be more battle focused if they're gonna do Mega Evolution, you know?
Yeah.
They really left us with like so many questions with all because it's just like it doesn't add up. It doesn't make sense to what we know with Legends. We're just like, this doesn't compute.
Well, I think what happens is
entirely in Lumio City it should function the same way. Well, I feel like so many aspects that we associate with the legend style are really just like aspects of Hisui, right? An ancient, what do they call it? Feudal Japan, right? It's this like it's like this medieval Japanese inspired place, right? And we get to see this ancient Sinnoh, which is already a very spiritual place. So I think all of those aspects, which I like a lot, right? Like I like dressing up my character in the, what was it? They're wearing like these like ancient robes or this old school. I forget what it's called. But like, yeah,
I want to get wrong because there's kimonos and there's jimbes. I don't know which it is.
Maybe they were jimbes. I'm not sure. I forget what they're called in game. But like that's an aesthetic style that's like cool and fun to play within. But I think instead, all that really might the only thing that might really carry over is like the character movement, the crafting, and then I do think alphas need to return. I think alphas was in some way, and I guess also these noble Pokemon as well, right? And again, they might be called something different. I kind of like the idea,
like having some sort of like real time gameplay aspect and not
a boss.
That has to be
a boss, you know.
That has to be that has to return, right? That's iconic. And I
really did appreciate how it's like you could just go straight fisticuffs with the Pokemon, or you could battle them traditional way.
You could, yeah.
It's a neat way of presenting that.
Mm-hmm. And I think it'd be kind of interesting to see these nobles were actually like, if they position Zygarde as almost the antagonist. And then at every stage that you battle it, it's like it's 10%, at 25%, 50%. Actually, I don't even know what the forms are. Is it 10,
it's 10,
50?
25, 50.
Okay. Yeah.
No,
and
10, 10, 50, 100, I mean.
Yeah. And maybe they throw in a couple new ones.
Which is odd because I fully expect them to have like a Spirit Tomb type thing, but with the Zygarde cells. Like I think.
Okay, that could work too.
Possible.
Yeah. A lot of people have been saying like, what if Zygarde Core is like one of your starter Pokemon, and like you kind of like develop it and like you use it as like your ride Pokemon as the game goes on, kind of like Miraidon.
Yeah, like Koraidon and Miraidon. Mm-hmm. Like you just have it there with you the whole time till the end, probably. I could see it. I for the whole death thing, I'm thinking if it was set in like a dystopian crazy future, if it was set in that, it's possible that you could be like, oh, the Pokemon are going crazy in this future and they're like attacking us in our city and all this stuff.
I hope but it's not the vibe the first trailer gives.
It's not.
Like it just seems weird to me, like I'm sitting there right in front of a cafe. There's a woman sipping tea, and I'm getting mauled to death by a Pyroar, and she's just kind of.
Yeah, that's not. I don't think that's.
You
what
know,
it's
I
gonna
mean,
be. All we know,
like, I don't know, with those games, it's like there's like what's on the front, you know, and then there's like, oh, but in secret there's Pokemon attacking people, like kind of like Detective Pikachu kind of vibes, where it's like, oh, we live, you know, harmoniously with Pokemon, and then
like maybe
they just
it's
get
all
attacked.
just gonna be like a series of like side quests and mysteries that you need to solve within the city,
which would be fun.
Yeah, maybe
it would be fun.
I mean, it also gets easier if they incorporate like a sewer or catacombs area.
Yeah, for sure.
I think it's possible. I think we really get hung up on like what the scale of Lumio City is going to be. But I think if you look at this picture right here, right, this is in the main town. What is it, Jubilife Village? Like,
the only one.
Imagine this. Yeah, exactly. Imagine if these structures right here, these houses, which are already pretty, you know, they're not totally to scale, but if we were to assume this scale will carry over to Legends EA, just imagine it's the same size but way taller because it's a building, right?
The scale,
and then you have a bunch of them.
The same, I think.
I thought you were gonna say these Magmars with Scrafties and they're just kicking you in like
that could happen. Yeah,
they're the Scraggies where you've got like the mob boss Scrafty just kind of sitting in the back where Magmortar is.
Like I really don't think, I don't know, I don't have an issue like imagining what the scale of Lumio's city is gonna be.
I don't think that's the issue with what we're talking about exactly. I think we're talking about that it's a city, and so like, where's the wild part about the Pokemon?
Right.
You know what I mean? Like,
gameplay will have to be drastically different from Legends Arceus. Like, it almost makes you wonder, like, what defines a Legends game other than the fact that like it's presumably set in a different time period.
Well, this is what we're trying to figure out. I think it's the real world, or what do you call it? Like the action combat, whatever you want to call that, the real-time action combat. That's an element of it.
Like it's not just straight up turn-based combat.
Yeah. I do think it's gonna be back in time. I do think crafting is gonna be an element of it, and we know in the trailer it said Legends EA. It says that like our job will be to help with the reconstruction of this of Lumio City. So to me, instead of just crafting just your items, which I think we will be able to craft our items, we'll also be able to do these larger scale things where we collect resources, and then you know, it's like Animal Crossing. You give them up to your overlord, Mr. Nook, right, and he builds out the whole city for us, right? I think it's just gonna kind of happen, and we did see that in Legends Arceus, so that's gonna be a part of it. And then yeah, and I zoomed in on this. You know, for listeners, I'm zoomed in on a picture of Lumio City. This is the map, the original map for X and Y.
I like this.
And
close up pick of this.
It does look pretty detailed. And what you can see is like there's obviously that river that flows through, and I think we also see there's other channels of water that probably will go out. So that's a water element. You guys mentioned the catacombs. That could be something. I do think there's going to be wide open areas in greenery. But here's the thing: there's going to be so much. We're going to be able to get lost in the city. It's not, you know. So
it's not just the streets.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And it's like you do have like in actual Paris, like you have like, you know, botanical gardens and stuff there. There's Dusty, can you look up, it's DES space. I'm not even gonna attempt to pronounce this. DES space THER.
Just literally spell it.
MOPOL.
MOPOR.
This is a long word.
MOPOLYES.
YES.
It is a street in Paris, or maybe like a court in Paris, and it is like you can see it's known for being like overgrown with vines and ivy, and like that's something that I think could be really cool, is like having like these like almost neighborhoods or districts of Lumio City that are like themed around an environment. So like this is like a jungly area, so here you're finding like wild pansage swinging around and scatterbugs walking around everywhere.
And they could probably make these wider.
But will they kill you?
Yes.
That's what we want to know.
Yes.
No, and this is honestly good
because one of my
because
favorite things about Arceus though is that it's like there feels like there's actual stakes roaming around the wild. Like, when I get hit with like a Paldean Tauros or a Veluza in Scarlet and Violet, I'm just mildly annoyed. I'm not like, oh my god, I'm gonna die, you know? Like, it feels like there's actual consequences for like letting your guard down in the
Oh, absolutely.
No, this is honestly...
Y'all remember that Alpha Rapidash in the first area? We all had like a moment with that, right? Like where we're like, oh crap, you know?
Absolutely. I think a way that maybe they could do this is, and we've talked about it, and obviously I don't want to like be hopeful for something that they said probably won't happen, but I do think there's maybe room for us to get elemental biomes that represent the 5 areas or routes that surround Lumiose City, but we only get the outskirts of those areas and how they kind of blend into the city. And that would allow for a more wide open. So basically we'd have this like core section around the Lumiose Tower, but then like as you go further out, I imagine 100 years ago, this these buildings on the outskirts of the city wouldn't be there. And instead, you'd have like more natural elements. And again, if this is called Legends ZA and Zygarde is a fundamental part, like I do think there is going to be natural areas. Zygarde is the Pokemon of, it's the keeper of the environment.
That in itself is a question because it's like he's like the guardian protector of the ecosystem. Yet the entire game is supposedly set in a city.
Yeah.
So. How do you even like find Zygarde?
Maybe that's what the A legendary is. The A legendary is like artificial, and Zygarde is like,
right? That's crazy. I hadn't even like linked that together until now.
I mean, I'm just I kind of just set that off.
That makes sense because like the A, on the like title logo or whatever, it looks very futuristic. Like people said, it looks like the ultimate weapon.
Yeah.
I've said for a while now, I think that the routes around Lumiose City could still appear because like the route with the power plant, that's literally referred to as the Lumiose Badlands. The route above Lumiose City, that's a little park. That can be a park in Lumiose City. Then you've got a pond. That can be a pond in the city. You've got that topiary garden below it. Is a part of Lumiose City, it looks like to me. The skate park, that looks like it's like they all look like they could still be a part of the city,
Yeah, that'd be crazy.
I'm sure that you guys have talked about this before on previous podcasts, but like, are you all in agreement of like what the time period will be for this game?
I don't think so. I don't think we're in agreement
every day.
Okay.
Yeah,
we really don't know.
I also kind of flip flop. My running theory is that this has to happen probably after the ultimate weapon was fired the second time in X and Y, and maybe there was like some sort of like fallout that made Lumiose City have to be constructed for. Like,
so it happens in the future.
Pokemon.
Yeah.
Like not like distant future, but like maybe 10 years after X and Y. Like
see that's
canonical 2024. I don't know.
Yeah.
I've seen good arguments for like for both sides, man. Like the big thing that people say about the past is like you can very clearly point to the time period that Legends Arceus is set in, like the real world time period. And there was a redevelopment period of Paris, France that took place in sometime in the 1800s, but it's actually like that time period actually lines up with when Legends Arceus took place. And then also too, you have things like the character from Legends Arceus that a lot of people think will be in this game, Rai, how he says he's leaving with his Lucario to go train another region. So people think he'll show up in this game and be the first trainer to Mega Evolve.
I mean, those are just some things. There's tons of other things.
Like but then the flip side is in the trailer that we got, which wasn't game footage, there are people walking around with like baseball caps and very modern looking clothing. Like what that is presenting looks like a modern era.
That's what makes me think it's probably like modern, like slightly into the future, but not like super, super distant future.
Man.
I'm thinking there's probably some consequence of the ultimate weapon being fired in X and Y that made most of Kalos inhabitable, and that's like the in-game lore reason why the game only takes place in Lumiose City, and why Lumiose City has been like closed off from the outside world. And then maybe the end of the game is like after you've assembled enough Zygarde cores, you like leave Lumiose City, you go out into the land beyond the walls, Attack on Titan style, and you have to track down like 100% Zygarde, and you have to like have him restore the balance.
That is so cool. Yeah, I don't think I've given myself enough time to or room or permission to like think about a future game. I think because like the title of these games are Pokemon Legends. So to me, it's an explanation.
Yeah.
It just implies it doesn't need to, because it could be, the legends are made every day, right? Right. I don't know. That's kind of, is LeBron James a legend? I don't know. I'm trying to think of something like modern.
It would still be his past. It's still his past that defines him as a legend, though.
Sure, that's a good point. But so like, yeah, so it's like
Robert Downey Jr.'s a legend.
So I just think this is
the present.
Is it the present though, or is it because he was
because of what he did 10 years prior?
Referring to legends of the past, like it doesn't have to be in the past.
I do agree. I don't think that the name Legends means much, just because you could be in the future and be like, oh, this was a legend.
I think Game Freak and they've like littered so many like epic moments and glimpses at history and there's so many things. There's so many legends of the Pokemon world, and I think these games, are an avenue for Game Freak and Pokemon to like explore these stories outside without hampering the mainline games from just like chugging forward and like constantly introducing new like lore and stuff, right? So I do feel like the point of these games, as far as I know, and I'm not against what you're saying, JPR. I think it would be cool to go into the future, because that's essentially like a sequel. That is Legend Z or Pokemon Z
which
version.
is a point. It's a point for
yeah.
Future, actually, like on that side of the column. It's like,
so that would be
there
cool.
was a Legend, or there was a Pokemon Z. They cut it, so now are we doing it?
And then it's like that's why they haven't
fully sold on my own theory of it being in the future.
Yeah.
It could very, very easily be passed as well.
Yeah. Well, I think too, Soul, that's an important point. That not even was there a Z game, but it was specifically an X2Y2, which clearly means that it's a sequel. So like if that's a scrapped game and they pull elements from that, well then it would have to be a sequel. But then also there is the fact too that how much is this going to tie into X and Y? Because we think a lot, but like with Legends Arceus, they released Brilliant Diamond Shining Pearl right around there. So, like, you were able to play those games again. But they're not releasing an XY remake or even an XY port. So, because of that, it's like, do they want Legend ZA to be so heavily tied to a game that a lot of people aren't going to have access to? Because you can't go buy it unless you're buying it from, like, a reseller or whatever.
Unless they port it.
I mean, yeah, but they're not going to.
Why not?
They're making free money. Why would they do that?
Yeah,
that would actually be sick.
3DS.
That would actually be sick.
3DS. I don't know about that one.
Yeah, that's another thing too. Is it's a 3DS game, so you've got the dual screen element, and that might be harder to.
Sure.
No, I just mean that it's
port.
It's more recent, and it's a system that they don't have ported in general.
Well, that's the sucky thing too, right? It is recent, but also at the same time,
it falls in like an awkward middle ground. Like it's not.
It was over a decade ago. So
I push back against it being so close of a sequel, because this goes back to our topic a little bit. Will there be like ancestors or descendants of characters that we know? So like if it's like set 10 years in the future, those people could still be alive. You're not going to see like, this is a descendant of, I don't know, some random person from Kalos.
They'd just be aged up,
instead. So it wouldn't be like, oh, this is their descendant, like
this is
like it is in Arceus.
5-year-old daughter.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. Which it was a big part of Legends Arceus.
She's the professor of the game.
Every single character in Legends Arceus, maybe not every single, but almost every single one, was an ancestor to somebody that we already knew of, just because they just went ham with it. They went crazy. But
Dusty just scrolled past Blaziken Mask.
I know. I freaked out when I saw it. I forgot it existed.
I am so mad that that wasn't an actual game character. He was so
dude.
Cool.
This was the original. It's probably Kukui.
Yeah. And like the fact that he's actually like Clement's dad too. Like that's a character you could easily put in the games. Easily.
Yeah. That's crazy.
Yeah, so all these characters would still be alive and kicking in a 10-year future Legends ZA game.
Maybe not all of them.
Which hear me out,
people.
like
maybe Ramos might be gone.
So like one of them.
Ramos is the only character.
Drasna may not be here.
I think I got a crush on Drasna. She looks so nice.
I think that says a lot about you.
Yeah.
What your Pokemon waifu says about you.
Yeah.
I like how I just implied that Drasna could be dead in this game. And then
Like,
Dusty
yeah,
followed
Dude,
it
she's
with,
so jolly. Look
she
at her.
bad.
I didn't say that. I just said I had a
I'll
crush
admit
on
I
her.
like her too. I like
Look
her
at how
too.
jolly she
Whatever.
is. Wisdom, bro.
Yeah.
I mean, she is, but it's more like I want her to adopt me as her grandson than it is,
Well, Lumi, when
have a
you
crush on
turn
her.
a certain age, listen, buddy, I'm 30 years old. All right.
She's in our age range.
Yeah,
Screw
but
you up there.
I have an
You up there.
appreciation. I have a wider appreciation.
She actually is.
It goes
just
up to
30,
70.
you know?
Yeah, she is just 30. She just looks older.
Oh, is she really?
Is she really?
No, no.
Oh, okay.
Oh, I was about to say, holy cow. They did, for what it's worth, Bonnie did propose to her for Clement. So, Bonnie seems to
Valid.
think that it's acceptable for her to marry
Actually.
Clement. So, I mean,
Yeah, she got a few wrinkles, whatever. Going back to the
Get back on track, guys. This was not my fault.
not at all.
Kinda
Going
was,
back
though.
to the freaking time frame. Every time I do a theory, every time I make a theory in my mind, whatever, it usually doesn't matter though. It doesn't affect the theory, like if it's set in the far future or in the far past. Like most times, it always works out. Like those walls of Lumiose City, they could be taken down in the future, and they could not have been built yet in the past. You know what I mean? So like,
Yeah.
it's really hard
This
to
could
say.
be post first Ultimate Weapon 3,000 years ago. This
Yeah.
Could be.
Kalos War 300 years ago, or this could be post XY. It could be any of those.
Mm-hmm. I really do like the idea though that like when you were on that map, Dusty, that you zoom out and you could just count all of that as Lumiose City, whether it be in the future or in the past. Like in the future, the walls are down and
Yeah.
they made the city bigger, or in the past, they were building the city up from the outskirts.
Like it
there.
could be, let me zoom out a little bit. It could be just kind of like basically
A bigger circle.
Yeah, you have
A
the
bigger
coast
circle.
here. But that's
I don't know about the coast. I don't know
yeah,
about the coast.
it is tough. Yeah, it's tough to say because it's like if they very specifically said Lumiose City, but here's the thing: if the core of the game
Outskirts.
takes place in Lumiose City, I do think there's some room there for maybe like you to do like tasks outside, because like you could say like I guess you do explore all of Hisui, which is ancient Sinnoh, but the main hub is Jubilife Village, so I don't know, maybe it is a similar situation. And then if the point of the game is to build up Lumiose City, then it would make sense to advertise it as a game that takes place in Lumiose City.
I have like this crazy idea in my head that I don't think they'll do it 1-to-1, but like I think they might take some elements of like the XYZ anime and put it in there, because there is a lot of weird coincidences, right? Like the fact that Zygarde is so heavily focused in that when obviously it wasn't in the X and Y games. The fact that the final battle takes place in Lumiose City, things like that. But there's one like filler episode in the XYZ anime that I always think of, and that's when they are traveling to the 8th gym. So they are around the area of Terminus Cave, right? They end up falling into like this hole or whatever, and they're in an old subway station. So it's very similar to Terminus Cave in terms of like, like a kind of old mine or whatever. And Clement says it's the same subway tunnel where he met his Bunnelby in Lumiose City. So like,
Wow.
they could easily rework that like Terminus Cave is like connected underground to Lumiose City. Terminus Cave obviously is where you have Zygarde.
Yeah, you can kind of like
Take
pop
the
out.
catacombs through the tunnel. Into
that's what I'm
Terminus
saying.
Cave.
Yeah.
And another thing we've said is like, I think Legends Arceus took a lot of inspiration from Breath of the Wild. That I think that's like confirmed. The creators took some inspiration from that. I think Pokemon has always kind of borrowed from Zelda.
Oh yeah.
And so the idea is maybe, I don't know if you played Tears of the Kingdom, but you have the main Hyrule, and then you have the Sky Islands above it, which Sky Battles, and then you have the depths below it, which could be the Catacombs, is kind of the idea here.
Oh yeah.
But
I didn't know you went into the depths of Hyrule and Tears of the Kingdom.
oh yeah,
Yeah.
that's
Spoiler.
that
That's
was the
pretty
main.
Yeah, that's like a
Very cool.
It's like a
happens
core
right away.
feature. Yeah, like literally the
Pretty freaking
entire.
neat.
Anyways, I don't think we're gonna get that.
I need to
exactly,
play
but-
Zelda at some point.
You mentioned the anime, Lumia. I need them to recreate that scene where Lysandre does like the swan dive off of Lumio's tower.
Yes, and they can. That's another thing too.
That was a wild scene for like a show aimed primarily at children.
Yeah, absolutely it was. That's another thing too. Is we could always have, especially if it's set like around when you're saying JPR, where it's like kind of like 10 years or so after X and Y. Like, you could see Lysandre confirmed. We never got a body, man. Like, we never got a confirmed death. They kind of were like, we couldn't find him down there.
Yeah, well, it's weird. Like, a different media treats him differently. Because, like, Pokemon Masters, they say that, like, he survived the blast and he escaped. In the manga, I think he is given eternal life, but he's still buried under there and he can never leave.
Oh my gosh.
So freaking metal.
Yeah,
that's so the manga, though.
That is crazy. In the anime, he actually does get killed by Bonnie.
Bonnie.
Yeah, Bonnie is like, hey, Zygarde, use like
really?
Enforcer on that guy, and like, he just blows up, and like they're like,
my
I guess
gosh,
he's dead now. So like Lysandre's fate is even like very different in every single form of media. So we don't even know.
I mean, that lines up with most every Pokemon story is a different timeline.
Yeah.
Maybe they set Legend ZA in the timeline of the Rainbow Rocket Lysandre where he won.
I have thought
rebuilding
about this.
Lumio City from his genocide.
Like
maybe it's
even
set
in the timeline of X and Y, like the ultimate weapon does entirely different things depending on which version of the game you're playing. One destroys, one gives eternal life. So
it's very possible that it could be set in its own. I mean, it is set in its own universe, but it's like, will it follow the one that we know really well?
That would be crazy if it was a future game. You guys kind of got that bug in my mind because that would be awesome to see. Because that's a sequel. That's a sequel like Johto. That's a sequel like Black 2 and White 2. I love that so much. To see the characters that we know and love and have their actual like and see them like where they end up in the near future is so cool.
But again, the big issue with that is like that will make it tie so heavily to X and Y more than Legends Arceus did to the Diamond and Pearl story. Which like then kind of makes it a thing of but these games are
like you'll need X and Y.
I don't think so. No,
those games will be 12 years old.
No, I don't think so.
If it's as direct of a sequel as Black 2 and White 2 is to Black and White, you absolutely will.
If you have stuff like the remnants of Team Flare are still looking for Lysandre around the city and stuff like that.
But here's the thing. Like, what you guys are describing is Johto. Johto stands alone as a game you can play regardless. Except what happens is through like while you play the game, you learn about what happened before it.
Yeah, but Johto has Kanto attached in it always.
That's a good
point.
Johto
also only happened 3 years after the original.
Yeah,
and there's not as much
I think if they give us
12 years.
But and the story takes a backseat too. That's a good point. It also you're saying before you said like Black 2 and White 2 and Johto. Black 2 and White 2 and Johto are two totally different animals. Like Black 2 and White 2 was you need to play Black and White to really understand this.
I don't think you really need to play
Johto wasn't. I mean,
I don't think you need to
because like it's at the end of the day, it's a game that can be played by children. But like,
I think this is going to be the same thing. I don't think this is a direct even if it's a sequel, even if it's a sequel, I still think you can. These games will stand alone by themselves, right?
And again, Black 2 and White 2 came out 2 years after Black and White. This will be coming out 12 years.
And I think that's why what they would do is they basically just make a brand new story, but it takes place in the aftermath of, it's like you can watch, I don't know, you can watch.
It's one of those things like they don't have to explicitly say that it's like all these events are connected.
But you just see it throughout the region. Like you can watch any Marvel movie at any point, and it doesn't matter. You're
not anymore.
Yeah, well,
that's actually been the big part of superhero fatigue.
That is true.
You're literally like you're the example you just gave is exactly what I'm worried about here. Like you have Marvel is now realizing they've spoken publicly about, hey, we need to change direction. Our projects need to make it where you haven't had to see 3 Disney Plus shows and 6 movies to understand.
Well, so I think this is not going to be like that, and I brought that up because I haven't really watched Marvel movies in like 10 years.
One of my other favorite video game franchises right now, Xenoblade Chronicles, like they sort of have a similar thing with each of their games where it's like the 3 games are loosely connected, but at the same time, like 90% of them are like their own self-contained stories. So it's like if you play 1 and 2 before 3, you'll appreciate that extra 10% of story. But for the most part, you can just play 3 because they recognize, like, hey, these games come out, like, 7 years apart. Like, not a lot of people are playing, like, all of them in a row.
Yeah.
So, like, it could be something similar like that, where it's like there are tie-ins to X and Y, but they aren't, like, so explicit that you need to play X and Y before you play this game.
Yeah, I think it was, like, interesting. Like, it made sense maybe on the first go-around that, like, that Game Freak that the Pokemon Company put out Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl as a way to, like, prime the audience and give people context for what Legends Arceus was. But truthfully, I don't think you need to play BDSP or any sort of Gen 4 game to understand or to enjoy Legends Arceus. And I think this is going to be a similar thing. It's going to be removed far enough.
But the difference is like this conversation started because we were talking about the idea of Lysandre continuing to be the villain here. With Legends Arceus, sure, you have some cool Easter eggs. If you played, Platinum, you see that, the shopkeeper is, that one Team Galactic guy's ancestor.
It's just
so
an
you
Easter
don't need
egg.
that. But in this, like in the scenario we talked about, Lysandre, the villain of X and Y, is the villain, not his ancestor, not his descendant, not his brother.
It's him.
Not his third cousin twice removed. He is the ancestor. He is the villain of this game. So
I think
it makes it more direct.
Yeah, I think I see it more as an opportunity for them to maybe do a BDSP style X and Y game. Leave your comments below whether or not you would like that.
Bro.
But
it ain't happening.
No, I'm not. I know. I'm saying it's
so like I think it's a cool idea, but I don't think Lysandre would just straight up be the villain again.
Yeah.
I think any sort of connection, if it were to be a sequel game, it would just be. It's an Easter egg. That's all it is.
You also have to think about what Game Freak normally does, and they normally like to just start fresh. Like they really don't.
Yeah.
The fans always want them to connect everything. We want it. We want the connections.
Right.
And the most connections that they did was like, oh, that's their ancestor. It's not, they want them to be able to be separate.
Yeah.
Most times.
No, that's a good point. All right, let's
So it's tough.
Yeah, we're getting on a little bit of a tangent. So new regional forms is obviously something that is that would be in this game. I can imagine. What about let's start with the starter Pokemon,
Would it?
right?
I don't know.
Because it kind of, you could make the argument they're phasing them out.
What? Okay, yeah, sure. I mean, that is true.
If it's all in a city.
I think you take any Pokemon that's not native to Kalos, you bring it into Lumio City or Kalos, and there's a potential for it to get a regional form. I think that's absolutely a possibility. Here's the thing.
It is.
Here's the thing.
Like,
I think the regional forms were like most emphasized in Legends Arceus. I agree that Scarlet and Violet didn't go ham when they could have.
They did not.
They did not, but instead we got, all the Paradox Pokemon that's like, a dozen, that's kind of like regional, they're like time forms, right? Not really, but that's kind
different,
of
though.
visually that's what they are.
Kind of like, this kind of goes back to like the time period too, because like if it's 10 years after, like, in that scenario, it feels a little less believable to me that all of a sudden within 10 years, not only has
that's a good point.
I don't know, Corviknight migrated to Paldea, but they've also evolved into a completely different form of Corviknight,
Well, it happens though. I mean, look at the starters of Legends Arceus. Like, they just were literally brought by Lavington to Hisui, and then they just evolved.
That's a little bit different though, because that's like Dewey is now basically evolving into something different. This would be like. Any of the lines that completely change.
Yeah, I think
we like to think that they change over time, like it's more like actual evolution.
Yeah, this is
and
a
the
good
Pokemon.
point,
I believe they've stated it's over time.
The Dex has said that it's kind of like that, but then you have these examples like this where it can also just be that like they're in this environment and when they evolve they change because the environment around them.
Yeah, I agree. With that.
I think
it's cool.
Massive mass outbreaks in Legends Arceus would imply that there are, in fact, a population of Oshawott, Rowlet.
Wow, that's a good point.
That's
right, but that's the same point though. It's like they evolve when they're there. That's how they evolve. It depends on like where they are. Like that's what they evolve into. I don't know.
I think any form
where
change.
and when, because if you evolve Quilava in Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl, it's gonna look like a Jotonian Typhlosion.
Yeah, that's that is interesting to think about. But I do think we're gonna get some. That's like
or
a
if you
plot hole.
evolve any Pokemon that you caught in like Paldea in the Indigo Disc place, then it evolves into its regional form.
Yeah,
Except Raichu for some reason. There's a weird.
Yeah.
Did you guys know that? Like if you evolve Raichu in the coastal thing, it becomes Cantonian Raichu.
Yeah.
So that bothered me so much. I legit made a video on it.
Why does that happen?
I like that.
Shameless plug. I think I came up with a good explanation for it. For what that's worth.
There's no pancakes.
Yeah, maybe. I just feel like especially after like Scarlet and Violet introduced like the regional fakes, but like they're like Toedscruel and whatnot. I don't know. Like I don't think there's like any like super concrete logical explanation behind like what makes a regional form tick.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, it's Pokemon lore.
It's so
and also
strange.
they explain it away with different universes too, which is a typical thing to do. So like
true.
like if you're talking about Diamond and Pearl and Quilava not evolving into Typhlosion or Hisuian Typhlosion, it's a different time or a different universe,
Yeah, well, I think that's the thing, is it's like a different time. Like, Hisui is no longer that rugged environment with the spiritual energy that allows Quilava to evolve like that.
Mm-hmm.
It is pre-established lore, though, that the ultimate weapon does turn regular evolution stones into mega stones.
Ooh.
So if this is post-second ultimate weapon, then that would suddenly explain why there are new mega stones that lead to new mega evolutions. So I go more the route of like I think we'll have more new mega evolutions than new regional forms.
That's a fair point. So
for me though,
Pokemon
would
do you
that
think could get
take the
those?
place? Would that take the place of regional forms, or would that take the place? To me, I feel like that would take the place of cross-gen evolution. So it wouldn't take the place of Hisui and Lilligant, but it'd take the place of Ursaluna and Weird Ear.
That's a good question. I feel like it would mostly take the place of regional forms in general. Like, I feel like there's still a possibility we could get regional forms, but I think they'd be in a reduced capacity compared to Legends Arceus. I feel like it'd be like Scarlet and Violet, where there's only a few of them.
Yeah.
And most of the new stuff we get is Mega Evolutions.
Are you upset, though, if we only get Megas? Because I feel like most people in the community are just like, just Megas will be lame. But...
Yeah, because they're temporary.
It depends on what comes after this. Because if they go right back to just axing megas for 10 more years after this, it's feel underwhelming.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good point.
I don't know if they return regional forms. I don't know. What if it was just like I was thinking about like city forms, like they're just regional forms,
like
but
urban forms.
City. Yeah, urban. There you go. So like any city you're in, they change.
It is a good opportunity to make like a regional variant that has never been done before, because you won't get like city variants in any other region after this, probably.
Yep. Yeah, and a lot.
Maybe this is the evolution to Eradicate.
Yeah.
They like to do new things. That's all I'm saying.
Normal poison.
Unova is pretty urban. Like, what if this was the Gen 5 game people were thinking it was? Like, this is the Gen 5 remake.
Maybe.
I think there's a lot of opportunity for like Generation 9 Pokemon to get new forms in Kalos, right? Specifically because they're so geographically located. It's kind of like Kanto Pokemon going to Johto and then getting access to new evolutions, right? And there's a ton of, I like to think it's all by design and they like plan this stuff out, but there's a ton of Pokemon in Paldea that definitely should get more evolutions. I think there's a lot of potential with a lot of them.
Look like
Scoville.
That's the first thing I thought of. Yeah. Absolutely.
Well, and I feel like I think Scovillain's a great example of this. For me, it doesn't even look like it needs an evolution. It looks like it does need a mega. You know what I mean? And like where the design isn't like it's not that the design looks like to me.
No, I know what you're saying.
I think would be low kicks. Like for me, low kicks. It doesn't look like it's a middle stage, but it does look like they could Super Saiyan it. You know,
definitely. No, I definitely see that.
I do think it is by design, though, Dusty. It's just they plan it for like generations ahead. Like in Gen 11, these Pokemon could get evolutions. You know what I mean?
That's the clip.
That's what they plan. That's the kind of vibe,
Yeah.
Or even just in Gen 10. I mean, daggum, we just got a Duraludon and an Applin evolution.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of possibility here. But hey, we haven't even talked about what I thought we were going to talk about mostly, which is what other Legends games we could see in the future, right? And we have kind of set up a lot of this already. Like, we have one game, Legends Arceus, that's set in the past. Legends ZA, if it is set in the past, then maybe that's a trend. But if it's set in the future, like, that's amazing. Like, I mean, that could really open up the possibilities. I think so we have how many regions now? We have 9 regions. 9 regions, a bunch of territories.
If you include
11 if you include Masters region, whatever it's called.
I'm not counting that.
There's so many you can include.
Yeah. Obviously we haven't played Legends ZA, and it could let us down. There's always the potential for that, but I'm really excited that Pokemon and Game Freak seem to be sticking with something that's still kind of bold, and it still feels like it's like they're moving forward with this, even though it didn't like become the best selling thing of all time, right? That tells me that Pokemon
sells.
That their
how this
heart
one sells
is
is going to be a lot. It's going to tell a lot.
But there again, I don't think, at least, maybe I'm wrong, but I don't think that it'll be dropping in November, and then that kind of is upsetting because it's like you're not giving it the holiday slot. If you want to see the sales roll in, give it the holiday slot.
So JPR, what region do you think we could see get another Legends game in the future? Or how about what would you like to see?
The one that I obviously want to see the most is Unova, because I feel like the last unsolved mystery of like the Pokemon franchise is, what does the original dragon look like? That is a mystery that is begging to be solved. It is free content. It writes itself if they do a Legends game.
We all want it.
But like, I don't know, part of me is also like, I don't want to know the mystery. I want that to like stay a secret. But part of me is like, no, we gotta see it eventually,
Mm-hmm.
So
it's been a mystery for a long time. So
yeah, at this point, it could just stay a mystery. Who knows? But I feel like that one is like an easy layup for them to do. Unova is a region that is just filled with potential for a Legends game, I think.
Yeah.
Another one though, and people might hate me for this. But I think a Legends Kanto would actually be crazy.
You're talking my language. Yeah, I think Kanto.
Hear me out.
Go for it.
Hear me out. So like, whenever they remake Kanto, they are so stuck on like the original 151 Pokemon idea that like they'll never go beyond that. Like in Fire and Leaf Green, you can't get Crobat till post game. You can't get any of the friendship evolutions. I know it's so tilting. And then in Let's Go, they're like, okay, we'll give you regional forms, but we're still gonna keep like the 151 thing, and then you can get like Meltan and Melmetal in the post game just because it's a tie-in, right?
Yeah.
So I've kind of accepted the like, if they ever remake Kanto again, which let's hope not, please don't remake Kanto again, at least for like another 20 years.
20 years. 20.
But like, I've accepted like whenever they remake Kanto, they're just gonna be stuck on the 151 Pokemon thing. It's too iconic. They're never gonna let it go. But if they do like a futurized, like more globalized version of Kanto, sort of like what we saw in the Pokemon Journeys anime series, like people pointed this out, how like Kanto has become much more globalized, and you see Pokemon from all 8 regions like now living in the Kanto region.
Yeah.
So if they did something like that, Kanto is already a fairly open region as is. I feel like it has a ton of potential.
Oh, absolutely. And I think
it does.
I mean, if you just take the Kanto Dex, that's 151. And now you add all of the evolutions. Okay, what is that? 251? I have no idea.
Oh, that's a lot.
I have no idea. That's a lot, though.
And then you add all the megas, and then you add all the new forms.
Yeah,
right?
if you add, and then like if you do like regional forms.
Yeah, then you add regional forms.
You've got Berserker, Surfetched,
Yeah,
there's
absolutely.
only like 20 Kanto Pokemon that haven't gotten like a new form of any kind.
It's not many. Yeah.
Like
yeah.
Already, you've got the whole.
Do we add the regional
out.
fakes? Is Wiglet and Toadstool there too?
You could even throw in the babies just for like
Oh yeah, no, I was assuming that's part of it. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
The babies would definitely be there. And dude, you're talking my language, because I think Game Freak is so hung up on preserving like the original image or whatever that magic is, right, of the original Kanto games. And honestly, it's not even a fault of theirs, because like, and I've told the story before, but like I lived with family for a couple of years, and I bought my my niece, she was 5 years old. I got her a Switch for the family, and I let her play Let's Go Eevee, my copy of Let's Go Eevee, and it's insane that just like she's able to literally know the route songs, right? She knows the Pokemon. She's having all these same moments that I had when I was, right? You told us on Patreon that like that you got into the series when you were like 5 years old, probably before you could even read, right? Like she couldn't catch a Firo. She thought that was like a legendary bird. And I'm like, let me help you out. This is what I'm here for. This is what Uncle's here for. That's a magic. And listen, it's just like nostalgia bait. That's what it is, you know. But I do think that's something that they're trying to preserve. But if they can just go outside of the box and they can actually deliver us, a Legends. Just Kanto from a different perspective.
A modernized Kanto that like actually just kind of abandons the things that they've been holding on to in this region for so long would be so cool. Because even in Gold and Silver, in like a 3-year time span, you already see how much Kanto has changed in such a short period of time. Yeah. And how there's already like a ton of Johto Pokemon that only live in the Kanto region.
I think so. A reason. So one piece of evidence that might suggest this could happen is that I think Game Freak wants a Kanto game on every, maybe not every obviously not every generation, but maybe on every console, like a game that's playable on every console. We had Kanto on Game Boy Color, Game Boy Advance, DS, which and then finally the Switch. And if we go to the Switch 2 in the next year, and it's backwards compatible, where Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee is still playable on the Switch 2, there's an opportunity for them to say, okay, great, you have your original Kanto game that anyone can play. Now let's give you like kind of a remix. Let's actually get a little bit experimental. And at the time of recording, this does feel a little far-fetched, but I think another great thing that Legends Arceus does. What is it?
I said Gen 1 reference. You said far-fetched.
That's hilarious. I think Jinx, you owe me. Yeah. I think another really cool thing that Legends Arceus does is it kind of reinterprets the land of Sinnoh, right? And it allows basically like because it's so far away from, or because it looks so different from the top-down pixel art Sinnoh that we know, they can kind of reinterpret the region in any way they really want, right? They can actually have a lot of fun with it. Like I think even they can almost like break our understanding of the layout of the region, but I think it works. And I think a Legends game in Kanto could do the same thing, where it's like, you know, they could almost reimagine some of the routes, or even be like, okay, what's west of or maybe Kanto. Like what's south of Pallet Town. It's like maybe these boulders don't need to be there.
Kanto has like so
but
many
the route between
routes that are just like begging to be reimagined.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. Yeah.
In talking about mysteries, like, you know, JPR, you said that the original Dragon's like an obvious thing to make you go back to Unova. For me, something that does that with Kanto is I want to know how the frick that SSN gets to the ocean.
It's locked in there.
Oh my gosh, you're right. It's right here.
Pokemon that uses strength on those rocks at the bottom.
Yeah.
That's it. That's the only way.
Okay, so we want to give a special shout out to our mythical tier supporters: Indiana Jenkins, Ryan, Candace Wendy's, Case, Coronet Highlander, Tyler Low 15, Solely the Skeleton, and the PokeKid 01. We'll give a super special shout out to our Arceus tier supporters, Young Smokey and Hayes, and a Gigantamax size shout out to our Game Freak Inc. supporters, Drogain, Bramtastic, and Rilo.
Thank you guys so much for all of your continued support. We are in the slowest period for Pokemon news ever. Like since Generation 6.
Feels like it.
So
it's a gap year, so it is.
Yeah. So we really appreciate all your continued support of the channel. I mean, it means a lot to us as well. We started this show a couple years ago, and it's been just beautiful to see the community that we've been able to foster. And all of you guys make it possible. You guys make it possible for us to show up every single week, sometimes twice a week, and just keep putting out videos. If you want to support and get access to the secret Discord, to get access to, I think we got like 24 secret exclusive videos for patrons and supporters. And there's a ton of other perks. There's so many other perks. You can, links in the description. Join on Patreon or as a YouTube channel member. And if you want to support another way and you want to get a physical product, we have a ton of merch as well with some brand new designs. This is called Hidden Legacy. I actually just made this new variant. I don't know if I've even shown you guys this. Someone in our community wanted this color with this design on the back, but this little evil fake smile on the front, That's a Mimikyu, if you can't tell.
It does fit, actually. I like that.
They wanted this, so I whipped it up. It's right here. I call it the Rupert's edition. I'm wearing the design right now. You can hardly see it, but it's such a comfortable shirt with a great design. If you want to support, you can get some merch. Links in the description. Yeah. So what were you talking about?
I mean, we talked about how the SSN can't get out.
We have talked about Kanto being a Legends game. Like, it fits perfect.
Would they merge it with Johto? Give us Legends Indigo.
I don't think they would. But it would be cool. It would be cool. Yeah.
I mean, you've got the birds tie-in with Lugia. You have the Birdkeeper Tobies, known for that theory where Lugia was originally on the Kanto side and Ho-Oh was on the Johto side.
They're so connected. It's not even a question.
Yeah.
But
I think something else
would they sell it like that?
I would be kind of sad. Have a Kanto game set in the future that just blatantly ignores Johto. That's already an issue when you're playing with the remakes of Kanto. Is how they just pretend that Johto doesn't exist. You know?
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, see, this whole time I'm assuming we're talking about it being in the past still.
Yeah, I am too. I'm assuming the Legends games are in the past.
If it's my idea of a globalized Kanto where it takes place in the future, then it kind of has to.
But that doesn't sound like a Legends game to me. To me, that's not it. Lumi makes a good point. It's like what is the legend that this is surrounding, right?
Well, I feel like that's what the Johto version would be used for, is that you have all the legend stuff on the Johto side, and maybe you have the contrast between urbanization versus
totally tradition. Yes, I love
Kanto that. Kanto already has this theme in the original games of how a lot of Pokemon are kind of abominations created by science. And,
they're all poison types. Ditto is a failed clone of Mew.
Ditto, Grimer, Muck, Coughing, Wheezing, Voltorb, Mewtwo is the poster child of all of them. So it's you already have this theme of evil people and scientists making Pokemon into these just strange affronts to nature.
Yeah, Porygon was a digital creature brought to life.
Yeah, I feel that's something that could take a step further in a future Kanto game and be look at how these Pokemon became corrupted even further.
Yeah,
wow. I definitely agree. I think obviously that's a big plot hole. Basically, if it was set in the past, how do you bring Mewtwo in?
There just isn't a Mewtwo if you do it.
Yeah, and Mewtwo's so huge to Kanto that it's would they ever do that? You can't do a Kanto game
without Mewtwo.
So it's really
what would be neat.
Pokemon Legends M.
I mean, you could do that two-way. You could have you could do in the future and have a Pokemon Legends game that's kind of more focused around Kanto, but it's in the future. But like you're saying, it would kind of have to include Johto too. But the focus would be on Kanto. Then do a Legends Johto game that's more of a focus on Johto, but still has Kanto, and that one's in the past.
Yeah.
You also could do I'd love to see, talking about the globalization of Kanto, if you have a lot of people that just moved from Johto to Kanto, and so Johto's a bit more vacant now, and maybe now that's the wilds and stuff. It's
and it's a commentary on how Tokyo is swallowing everything up in real life.
Yes,
there's no farmland left. Whoa.
Wow.
Yeah, that.
They would do something like that.
And think too, you could even take one of the cities, say Violet City, and go full on ghost town it. Make it where there's not a single person left there.
That'd be awesome.
You're just wandering through the ruins of Violet City.
It's an expansion of the ruins of Alpha, a slightly more modernized version of it.
A bunch of Alpha Victory Bell.
Maybe you have some more modernized unknowns that are based on emojis.
Yo, dude. I actually want that so bad.
Unknown 100 emoji form.
You know what we need? We need a baby unknown that's just a period that evolves into all of them.
Yeah, I mean, that's good.
I don't know if we need that.
That one's named Known. That one's named Known.
Known.
And when you go to the ruins of Alpha, they make you spell out Gen Z slang words Riz, and then you open a secret tunnel.
You have to the picture that you're the old Kabuto jigsaw puzzle or whatever. Mm-hmm. Instead of that, you're having to recreate the Will Smith slap from the Oscars.
Yeah.
Oh my god!
You're putting the Giga Chad pictures together.
Where does the chin go?
All I
That's
know
hilarious.
is Game Freak doesn't ever need to have like a meeting. All they have to do is listen to our dumb podcast and get a whole bunch of ideas.
Right now,
Like,
they're
these guys are
frantically
cooking.
drawing up unknowns, like based on the like poop emoji.
Bro.
Oh my
We
gosh,
need
that would
that.
suck.
No. And we have talked
They're gonna
about
scrub the
crap.
podcast. They're gonna scrub the podcast, and they're gonna land exactly on this spot and be like, "We're never listening to these guys ever." again."
Never again.
They just write our name, put it in a like blacklist file, you know.
Dude,
I
Well,
think
I
I know
mean,
this
it was
already
sounding
do
happened.
not
good.
go to Worlds 2025.
It was sounding good until the emojis happened. So I mean,
Everybody draw your unknown emojis, take them to Worlds in Hawaii, and have Junichi Masuda sign them.
I
and
think
hashtag not funded or whatever it was.
so. Here's
Not
something.
fully
Here's something I was thinking about. So I feel like so in Legends Arceus, right? The main like visual, what would you call it? It's not a theme. It's like the main visual like iconography. I don't know. It's all focused, right? The thing that you can see in the middle of the region is Mount Coronet. In Legends ZA, that thing, that object is the Lumiose Tower. And I do think, where was it? I do think Gen 5 kind of functions like that with the Entralink. The Entralink is not really, it's
I don't know
not
about that.
tall, but I do think the region is
guess.
kind of centered around it. That's just an
It's
idea.
in the
such a
sense
weird
that it's in the
piece
middle.
for it to not be involved in the plot or like
Right.
the story
Yeah.
at all.
I feel like
Yeah.
the city is, the main thing of Unova.
No, I
whatever it's
agree. I
called.
agree.
Just push Castelia City like further up and just like have it encompass that entire middle stretch. Honestly,
Yeah.
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 But
because like that already sort of happens in I guess Black 2, not so much White 2, but they turn like the Route 4 into like an extended Castelia City route.
yeah.
Mhm.
I guess just my idea. I'm just want to ask it to you guys. I'm like, what other thing could, like, if that is a trend, what other thing could be the central point, visually for a Legends?
I don't know
game?
how much of a
Can
trend
I-
it is, but
Can I say that there's like, so first off, I want to say two things. First, I want to talk about the fact that if I got to pick where a Legends game was set, I would set it in Alola.
Yeah.
20 out of
nobody
10 times.
asked you though.
I know, and I'm just butting that in.
No,
because
dude, I think
want
that'd
to
be
talk
cool.
About this.
I think it could be cool.
I want to talk about this too, but I want to talk about what we were talking about first. Can we do that?
What?
Just
Yeah, no, absolutely.
because
Well, I was saying
this goes into another topic that I wanted to bring up.
well,
Wait, what were we
yeah,
talking
okay,
about
then
first?
I just want to like going back to Johto and Kanto.
Oh.
Okay, so
I
we
just-
going way back.
Yeah, there was a few things, and one of the main things is
He did.
I don't
He
know.
did miss the episode that we Lumi and I recorded a 2.5 hour episode about this topic. So I think
Yeah, I
we're,
didn't
watch
we're
it.
like done.
I didn't watch it.
Yeah.
You're right.
No, you weren't on
Um,
it. You weren't on it.
I
You
know.
should have been
I wasn't
it.
on it, and I didn't watch it.
Oh,
You
okay.
easily sent that around.
Oh, I
Mount
guess he's
Silver,
mad.
right?
I didn't know he was mad.
No. The only thing I'm bringing up is that if they were to do that, I think it would have to be something so big that it would be like, oh, it's the 30th anniversary thing. And I just think that
Sure,
they already passed that, where it's like we're getting Legends ZA and then we're getting Gen 10, and then the 30th anniversary will basically be over. Maybe the year after the 30th anniversary, it's an option, or maybe 2026, whatever. It's just like that's something so big that they would put them together and make it a Legends game.
I was
40th
thinking
anniversary
They
game.
release it 2029.
Yeah,
that's the 30th anniversary of Johto.
Okay, interesting. I was gonna
It's just
say
so big.
they could
though,
do
you
the
know what I mean?
worldwide release in what 2028. When is the
What?
worldwide release of Gen 1?
Worldwide. I mean,
Yeah, that'd be
Oh,
2028.
Do people
Yeah.
really look at? They don't.
No,
really
they don't.
count
I'm
those.
just-
They count them as the Japanese one most of the time.
I'm grasping straws.
If
I
they
don't
needed
here.
an excuse, though, if they needed an excuse to like
Yeah.
shill Kanto some more, they'd be like, "Yeah, we have another anniversary coming up. It's the
It's
worldwide
true.
release."
My point is only that just putting them together. That's the only way it kind of makes sense, because they could make them two separate games. And go on and make more money. Do you know what I mean? Like, okay, Kanto's this year, and then Johto's like 4 years from now.
But I think if they're gonna sell Johto, and it kind of goes back to what we were talking about earlier about like sequel games, I do think I don't know why, but Johto gets so much flack. And if you're gonna make a Johto game, just also sell it as a Kanto game. But that's your excuse to make a different version of Kanto, right? So you can have if you want to play Kanto, let's go Pikachu and Eevee's right there. But if you want a new experience, here's a new game,
that's just
Pokemon Legends Indigo, and it's Johto and Kanto, and it's a different experience. But we're not changing.
The main appeal of both of those regions is that they're connected.
Yeah.
True. It's true. That's very true. I don't know.
No, I think that's real.
Another thing is like if Legends ZA is set in the past, which has been like our theme this episode, but if it is set in the past, that puts 2 Legends games in the past, and it's like, so does that? Does it establish it? Yeah, does it establish Legends as like it's always going to be past games?
I mean,
so like
I think
a future Kanto work even. So,
dude, I think until proven otherwise, I'm assuming the Legends games are in the past. For what I said, it's a game meant. It's a game format meant to explore the legends of the Pokemon universe. And if they're legends, that means they happened in the past and they've been able to be talked up, and we get to actually witness what the actual events were.
Is the legends part referring to the story or the Pokemon, though? Because, like, Arceus is a legend. And so if this is a story about Arceus, then whether that's set in the past, the future, the present, it is about a legend. You know, it's literally a mythical, which is a legendary Pokemon.
Yeah, I think it's both. I think just nicely, like, you know, there's I think it fits both nicely. We have the legendary Pokemon and the legends of the universe, which are typically the legendary Pokemon, right? So so another region, I guess we can, you know, let's kill 2 birds with 1 stone. I don't really want to kill it. I don't really want to kill any birds. I'm sorry. I don't want to kill the birds. I'm sorry.
I don't want to kill birds.
I don't want to kill the birds. I like the idea of a Legends Alola because it is such a unique place. And there is a lot of like cultural, like, I think the legendaries make sense. But I don't know how much I love the idea of these separate islands. I guess it could make sense if you start your area. If you start...
Are you saying to put all the islands together and take away a fundamental aspect of Hawaii?
No, what I'm saying is...
Have they not been through enough?
No, what I'm saying is I think for a gameplay experience, a big thing I don't like about Alola that I like about, and this is maybe controversial, something I like about Hoenn is that you actually get to explore the sea and you get to dive and you get to like find all these hidden treasures and explore the whole region.
Whereas Alola feels kind of like segmented, where you don't have to explore any of that middle stuff.
Well, that's the beauty of these Legends games, right? Is they're taking what was previously a very linear game, Sinnoh, and they're opening it. So that I'm sure Alola would do that. I mean, you kind of had Ultra Sun and Moon like play around with that a little bit. Like you couldn't really explore, but you could Mantine surf between the 2 islands. Yeah. So you just expand on that, and you're like, hey, use this water Pokemon. It would be kind of cool to
have like that, but it's like a Wind Waker style. Like there's a lot of stuff to find between the islands, like out in the ocean.
And honestly,
like you find maybe the Pokepelago's in there, and you kind of go to the Pokepelago like on your way to Akala Island or whatever.
Or you
so
find,
like there would be more islands, basically.
You find random ultra wormholes out in the middle of the ocean.
Yeah, just like Auras.
Yeah,
like
that's the thing, though. That's the thing with Alola is like they don't have to stay in just Alola. They could do like a Legends Alola or a Legends Ultra Megalopolis where they like go into ultra space and like they just explore all of the other worlds out there.
You're part of the Ultra Recon Squad and you're like mapping out the entire like multiverse.
Wow,
that would be freaking.
Hey, that sounds amazing, but like
but they will never do it.
Well,
they could do that. No, they could do that.
I love Alola so much. I would love to see those like tribal vibes in a Legends game. You know,
that's the thing
like
though,
the
Lumi.
beginning days of the island trials and Z moves and all.
I feel like
this.
they've already shown it to us. Like we get to live it.
Yeah, that's the thing though, Lumi is like.
But I agree with you, Lumi.
Is kind of more of a. I don't know how to say this.
The whole point of Alola is like it hasn't changed over however many years.
It's very traditional.
It's also very
the only
new
thing we get from Alola.
Imagine
we saw its beginnings already. Do you know what I mean?
Oh, that's interesting.
There's not much past to go to in Alola if we're doing past. That's one of the bigger things.
I think so. Like,
I think there is.
For one, you can do the pre-colonization from like Johto and Kanto, like where they start arriving, kind of making the place look like it. You have, you have these ruins on Pony Island that are kind of largely unexplained. We know that there was an earlier day where Necrozma arrived and Z.
Like the first time that the Ultra, they could do like the first time that the Ultra Beast came and like the Tapus were like that's why they they had to like become
Right.
the guardians kind of thing.
Like the Tapus don't even have temples yet because they haven't even earned their temple yet. You know what I'm saying? Like they haven't protected the Alolans yet. So like it's kind of these Ultra Beasts are coming. You're tasked with going around the islands to find these. Apparently, there's these creatures called Tapus that maybe they can help us with the fight. You know?
Yeah, I do wonder. That is an interesting point. That it's like maybe we already are living the Legends story, just because it's. I don't know. I do think there's like a ton of ripe, like legendary lore there that could fulfill a game. So that's cool. I wanted to just touch on this. The Alola introduces ride Pokemon, and ride Pokemon is a core feature of the Legends games. Where
How
not
dare
only
you steal that from X and Y?
Yeah, but listen, I'm
It
DustyGogoat. I can say
different.
that. Okay, it was it was pretty underwhelming. It was the beta test.
It was underwhelming, but it was those games.
It was different.
And you can't take that from them.
It was different.
Lapras was good.
Well, so my idea is, like, I want to see all these ride Pokemon get new evolutions. Like, maybe they were allowed to evolve in a different way back in the day. Like a Mantine evolution. That's kind of cool.
A Charizard evolution?
Oh, yeah.
I was about to say, I'm like,
never give Charizard anything.
No.
Oh man, I was about to ask like what were the Pokemon, and then I was
Charizard.
Instead of Charizard, they take from the anime and they do Pelipper instead.
Yeah, right. I think the Hoenn region is prime for a Legend style game. I think it's such a gorgeous, rich region with all these different biomes.
All these regions you could do it for any of them.
No, but I think Hoenn's my pick.
Hoenn would have to be like so prehistoric though,
which is cool.
That's the only thing. Like Hoenn, it is cool, but it's like, would they go that far back?
Yeah, listen, if we go to we're kind of you say prehistoric, I guess. Yeah, we have this like ancient wild Hisui region in Legends Arceus, and then we go way more modern and industrial with Legends EA. I think Hoenn could be cool because it's like a tropical. It's like tropical medieval.
It would be neat to see like Pokemon like Anorith and Laleep and Aerodactyl just kind of like being out in the open, and like there are very, very few people in the game at all because like just humanity hasn't even.
Dude, even better, bring back diving and let me see the Cradily down there on the seafloor.
Yes. Like maybe Relicanth.
Is a thing. You would have to have dive. You would have to have stuff that kind of fills up that ocean section.
Well, and it's being true to the region, right? Like, you can't, just like they weren't going to do Kalos without Megas. Dive. Exactly. You can't go to Hoenn and not dive.
Interesting. The soar mechanic was so cool.
If they ever do Unova, I feel like they're going to have to touch triple and rotation battles again.
Mm-hmm.
I agree with the idea, like, it'd be freaking amazing if it was like a Hoenn but set in prehistoric times instead of like just a couple hundred years back. Instead it's like all the times when like Groudon Kyogre battles and stuff like that.
Make you one of the Draconids.
Dude,
yeah, with like full on explaining most of the fossil Pokemon. Like they could bring a bunch of fossil Pokemon in.
The starters are Snivy, Charmander, and Totodile, and they all evolve into dragons.
Oh, let's
dinosaurs.
Go.
There's an opportunity there to have like, dragon or a fossil Pokemon that we didn't even like in the modern day, like undiscovered fossils basically. Or what about we even get like the Galar fossils, but like in their proper
wow, that would be so cool.
I'm down.
That'd be so cool.
Sounds cool.
Finally.
It's a good idea for Hoenn. I don't think it would happen until like very distant future.
Yeah,
Tropius evolution that died out over time.
Oh, let's go, dude. Tropius would be insane. I love Tropius so much. I think the whole idea of like, the primal forms of Kyogre and Groudon. I feel like that's something worth exploring, but maybe that has already been explored through those forms in itself. Please. So maybe that's out. Yeah, Primal Tropius.
Just give him a primal reversion. Don't explain it. Just give him a primal reversion.
It's like Mega Audino. It's like why?
It's Kyogre, Groudon, Tropius.
Yeah,
that's it. They're the only.
Did we skip over Gen 5 and what that lore would be? I guess we would have the ultimate.
It'd be the original dragon.
Yeah, but like, what would the story be like? I mean, I think my
The original
favorite...
dragon.
No, that's
they kind of talk about
that's
how,
not the
like,
story. That's not the story. Like, what would the setting be? You know?
The
It
original
would be
dragon.
kind of cool if it was like Unova before the rivers formed, because they talk about how like that happens during the war, like when the brothers have their conflict.
I've never heard of
like
that.
Unova used to be entirely different.
I've never heard of that. That's really cool. That's really, really cool. That's actually like a full.
Since
full
y'all are
range.
trying to take my Alola game and set it entirely in Ultra Space, I'm gonna take your Unova game and set it entirely in the Dream World.
Yeah, honestly.
This sounds fun though.
Yeah, I like that. Good idea, Lumi.
The villain is dark right now. No, don't be happy with me.
But it does
Think of another one.
The entire game is set in a PokeStar Studios movie.
Oh, that's even better.
That sounds really
crazy. What a twist! What a twist!
Dude,
It's framed like it's a normal game, but then right
You get
at
to the end and you realize
the camera pans out and shows you in a studio.
It's like Paper
It
Mario.
was Bryson Man the entire time.
Yeah.
Right.
That's
I
actually
would
kind of
love-
hilarious.
I would.
And then
love
that keeps the secret. That keeps the secret. Like, was that the actual original dragon, or was it just a direct
Yes,
interpretation?
it was a Hollywood interpretation.
Whoa.
Yes.
That's so funny.
I love it.
That would be cool. I think my favorite interpretation of, and this doesn't really make sense. I guess it depends on how you look at it. My favorite interpretation of a Legends Unova would be, or Legends Kyurem, would be the Wild West.
Yeah, I knew
So
it, bro.
sick. It's
doesn't
so
make sense, you're
imaginative, right?
Which I've said that before on,
And it is
like,
iconic.
different podcasts, and people get mad because they're like, New York is not the Wild West.
Yeah, but it's
I'm
the
like, okay,
United
it's
States.
it's the United States as a whole. Like, sure, it's New York, but it
As a
represents
proud
the US
Texan,
more
you
broadly.
better not touch my Alamo,
The thing is, they could go back in that time and like the North was like kind of like that. They still shot people here and there. You had to go back really.
Bro,
you had to
Is
go
that
back.
what
we've been
Wild
drinking
West is to you?
Starbucks latte since the
Pokemon-
1800s.
Pokemon-
Do you
brother.
want to recreate the Boston Massacre?
We have duels out on the street, and you get to kill people.
I'm just talking about like
With
doing
Pokeballs.
a draw. Or
You
something,
thought dying was fun? Now you get to do the killing.
Instead of prize money, when you beat another trainer in battle, you just execute them.
Let's duel.
You're talking about with
Pokemon Duel
Pokemon
makes a
moves,
return.
right? Right, YouTube advertisers. We're talking about X Scissor.
I know we've
Yeah,
said death.
X-Scissor, the
We've
move,
said
the
death
move.
way
The
too many
move.
times.
Guillotine,
Guillotine,
not
the
the
move.
actual guillotine.
Oh, that's a
man.
good cover. Good cover. I
I
don't know.
have one last thing for you, Dusty. I don't know if you're trying to move on or not, but
I mean, I think this is the point of the episode. We do want to explore these regions.
No, this is part of it. I sent you a tweet in our group on Twitter. There's 3 books
Let me pull it up.
that is in the original Legends Arceus trailer, and people have been making theories about that. These 3 books are like 3 volumes of 3 Legends games that we're gonna get. One of them's Hisui, one of them's Kalos, and then the third one we don't know what it. They're
one
like
of them
color
is
based.
green.
Yeah, I think it's green. Yeah, green.
Yeah, one of them
Yep.
is green, so that would be Legend ZA hypothetically.
So we have red. So these are the 3 books, right? This is the very begin. Is this just in the trailer?
It's in it, yeah.
It's
Legends
the
Arceus?
it's the reveal trailer for Legend.
So the
It
top
really-
book has a
It
map.
doesn't hold a lot of water for me, but it's just fun
it's
to
interesting,
think about.
yeah. So
Yeah.
the top, just for listeners, so there's 2 Pokeballs and 3 books. The top book, it has some sort of language on it, and then you can see it's red, and there's an image of the Hisui region. Underneath it is another book that maybe is like violet or purple, which is Violet, the game. And then below it is a green book, which the idea is, okay, that's Legend ZA. So what's the book in the middle? And maybe, here's the thing, go a step further. We got past, at the bottom is future, maybe in the middle, it's present. Who knows? I don't know.
Maybe. I don't know.
Maybe
It's
they were
just
just saying these are the next 3 Pokemon games,
Yeah,
Yeah,
it could be that. It could be Legends, Scarlet and Violet, ZA.
which would be crazy. That would be actually so crazy if they came out and said, like, "Yeah, did you catch this?" We're like, "Whoa, no way!"
Yeah.
I mean, it could be a little
I don't
Easter
think
egg.
it was like anything at all, but they were like, "Yeah."
Well, and
They
for
could-
the
they
record,
could
that
do it.
actually would still hold true because you have the top book, Legends Arceus, is set in the past. The middle book, Scarlet and Violet, is set in the present, and then Legends EA set in the future.
Yeah. And then,
there's a lot of ideas that people had, but it was just.
I'm reading
I
this.
felt
it's
like it was accurate to this conversation.
I think
Yeah.
I think it would be interesting. So here's the thing: like a lot of these newer, like we didn't really touch on Gen 8, we didn't touch on Gen 9 really.
Well-
But you know, if we're gonna get this game in, let's say, at least 5 years from now, or 4 years from now.
No, it would be yeah.
It'll be about 4 or 5 years.
3 years from 2025, basically.
So
Yeah.
4
Whatever
years
that is.
from this year.
So that means that means Gen 8 would be a decade old. No, that's not true. When did it come out? When did Gen 8 come out?
It came out in 2019, so it'd be
Yeah.
just about it.
Yeah.
It'd be 9 years.
So Gen 8 is in the running. That's totally in the running.
That's something I was gonna say too. Was to run with Soul's little theory. And Legends Arceus, when you begin, you're wearing a T-shirt depending on the gender that you pick.
Yes.
One of the T-shirts is from X and Y. Well, then we got Legends EA. The other T-shirt is from Sword and Shield.
Yeah, let's do it. What do you think, JBR? Did you like Galar?
Okay, I like elements of Sword and Shield. I think the region itself is my least favorite part of the game because it's kind of just outside the wild area.
Yeah,
Very England.
I would like to see it revisited in some form and fashion.
Yeah,
but
I agree.
I do think having a Legends game where you could like see the G-Max Pokemon roaming around would be terrifying
during the darkest day. Oh
yeah, like imagine
What's
like
that game?
The fear that you feel seeing the alphas roam around times 10. Now the question is, would the game be able to render that in a way that actually looks terrifying? That
maybe
is
in 10
question.
Well, the
years.
nice thing is we're talking 4 years from now, so maybe.
Yeah. We could have a whole other console, and maybe this is like a non-problem. But on the Switch, no, they couldn't do it.
Yeah, no.
I just realized they have this giant wall here protecting. What is it? Winden from.
Winden.
Yeah, protecting it from the icy cold.
Sorry, people.
Is there actually a wall in England?
You can't see it because you can't go over there.
It's the wall from Game of Thrones.
That's what I'm thinking.
It's in
this
the
looks like the
background.
wall from Game of Thrones.
I don't understand that reference.
I don't think there's a wall in England.
I'm just
I don't know.
wondering.
Yeah,
'Cause I'm
there
like, why
is.
would they put this here?
None of the English
There's
people.
a lot of walls in England.
None of the English people that support us and follow us are going to tell me now because I insulted their country.
Yeah, because you said when he said, "Did you catch that?" Dusty JPR said, "Yeah, it was just kind of bland," and Soul said, "It's England."
Yeah, I mean, listen.
I don't mean that. England is actually really beautiful in a lot of places.
Yeah,
There are
they
some-
just backtrack. Soul.
There are some beautiful
It's
things.
the weather. It's the weather that people complain about.
Here's the
but
thing.
anyway.
I have never been to England, but playing this game, it felt, yes, bland to me. Maybe because it felt a little bit like New England.
I love your country.
Yeah,
New
we
England?
love this country. Let us know what the wall is.
New England. What is the wall? Hadrian?
Would they include Isle of Armor and Crown Tundra?
I think there's an opportunity.
I feel like you have to Crown Tundra.
The Crown Tundra is really cool.
Yeah.
There's definitely a lot
Oh, yeah.
of mysteries there.
Legends Calyrex, man. Screw the dogs and Eternatus. Do it around Calyrex.
And maybe you could find
You're so right, Lumi.
all of-
You're so right.
yeah.
You
That's
can
what it should be.
we can find out why the heck it's blue when it Dynamaxes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That could be
instead of going
something.
like the typical route where it's like, oh yeah, we just want to see the original Darkest Day. Instead, we see like Calyrex doing all kinds of crazy stuff when he was the
Right.
king and stuff, and
Making
bringing like
people do the Irish jig.
I want to learn about
however
like
the dance is.
maybe there's a continuation of like the Regi. What is it? There's 5 of the Regis now. I guess 6 with Regi Gigas. But why are those in Galar? Right? Where are the other ones?
Dude, I didn't even think about this when we were talking about Hoenn, but the Regis is a huge part of like it could
Yeah.
be like ancient history stuff.
Yeah, definitely. There's
Legends
so many.
Regi.
There's so many legends in Hoenn.
Legends.
It's a good one.
Yeah, I don't know. JPR, are there any? I feel like we're definitely getting off the rails a little bit. Do you have any
Don't you
other
worry.
ideas concerning Legends Arceus or any of these Legend style games?
Oh man, I feel like the craziest idea would have like a Legends Celebi where you like time travel to different
Yes.
eras, but that seems way too far out there. Like Scarlet and Violet.
I don't
like,
think it's even
they
that
literally-
crazy.
They had a time machine in Scarlet and Violet, and we still didn't time travel. That was
True.
so
I know.
tilting, actually.
But every time I think of that, I also think, yeah, but we did go to Ultra Space right? We went to all
Yeah.
these different places in Generation 7. That was,
We went to the Distortion World in Gym 4.
yeah, absolutely. And in Legends Arceus,
And the Distortion Room
yeah.
in Gen
The Distortion Room is everything.
I think there's precedence for a lot of crazy things to happen. Whether or not those crazy things are going to happen every single game, I think Pokemon's priority is to just make games that are fun and entertaining and put one out every single year. And there's been some hiccups, but I do think there's precedence for some like crazy stuff to happen. Honestly, JPR, it does all go back to Kanto. I think Kanto and Johto would be the ultimate Legends game. It's the oldest. There's so many mysteries. Like literally, imagine the story following Ho-Oh and the legendary beasts, and like we get to actually witness that happen. You know, so cool.
Who cares, man? But set it in Lentil. Give me a Legends game set in Lentil.
In Lentil.
Yeah.
The Lentil region.
The Lentil region.
Pokemon
Snap. Play it.
Final thoughts, guys.
JPR, are you excited about Legends EA?
I'm very excited. I mean, like I said at the beginning of this, I was so cautious about Legends Arceus. Thought it was gonna like just be a big tech demo, and then expectations were blown out of the water. So I think there's actually reason to be excited for Legends ZA. I think it's gonna be a very, very cool, very different game than what we've gotten before. Scarlet and Violet, with, you know, the way that it launched does concern me a little bit, but you never know. Maybe the new Switch will be out by this point in time, and we can have a really, really solid experience.
In EWOW we trust.
Yeah.
In EWOW
you guys had, I don't even want to say arguably, but the best reaction to the trailer, which was...
Oh, yeah.
Could go down in history.
You guys
it was such a good reaction.
Well, it's so
it was
funny because like, one of my hottest takes is that like I don't really care for Mega Evolution all that much. I think it's cool, but I'm not like whoa over the top about it. Like like I expected as soon as I saw it was Kalos, I was like, of course we're getting Mega Evolutions. So they show us the title, it says Pokemon Legends, and all of us are freaking out. We're all like, yeah. And then they show the Mega symbol, and those four are all freaking out, and I'm just kind of like,
I wonder because
I felt similar. That's true.
I feel like, as someone who doesn't watch the anime, I feel like Megas were so integral to the anime. Is that correct?
I mean, they
more than the games.
More off as time went. Like there weren't a lot of Megas in the early.
That's true.
XY
I guess it was mostly
anime,
Ash Greninja.
Yeah, but like towards the end, there were a lot more Megas, definitely more than there were in the games.
Yeah.
And like oddly, the Megas stayed around through both Sun and Moon and Journeys. So that was one way where it deviated.
That's true.
From the games.
I just feel like Megas, and I don't think we talked about this yet, but I think, at least I agree with you, JPR. I think Megas are I'm not that fond of them because they kind of are temporary form changes where in my mind
I need to see that they're going to stick around.
Yeah.
You know?
No, but not even like temporary, like they're only going to be here for a couple of years, but I think even the way
they're temporarily for one battle.
Yeah, when we interact with them, they change and then they revert back to normal.
I really think
I can't throw them out and play with them in
really,
Pokemon Camp, you know.
But see, you can in lore. So, because Megalodios and Megalodios, you can fly on them. So I really think they'll do stuff like that in Legends ZA, because Legends aren't battle focused, they're action focused. So I feel like they're going to make these Mega Evolutions do something in the world, not just in the battle.
Yeah,
we hope.
What's your starter predictions for Legends ZA?
I don't have any hot takes beyond what everyone has mostly theorized. I think it's going to be like the stereotypical French ones we have.
I don't think those won't be it.
And everyone has said that it's going to be them, so like they're going to go completely left field. They're going to be like, it's Chikorita, it's Chimchar, and it's Popplio or something like that.
Chikorita,
love it.
Chikorita actually has a huge chance to be it, Chikorita.
That would be cool.
I do think so.
Superior doesn't need a buff. I love Superior as much as the next guy. It does not need a buff. It's already really good.
Yeah. It just needs like more type coverage. It needs a new type so it has more coverage. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, good, man. Well, how about this? Can you plug whatever you got going on right now?
I don't know what videos I'll be making in the near future. I always just kind of make them as I come up with the ideas. So I make videos about anything and everything about Pokemon. So if you like Pokemon, check out my channel. And you can find me on Twitter at JPRPeace98. So that's about the only other platform that I am active on.
I love it.
Love the recent thumbnail art. Like that Ultra Necrozma one, I was going to share it on Twitter. I still might share it just because I absolutely love Ultra Necrozma. And I was like, this is incredible. I love this.
Ultra Necrozma is the coolest Pokemon to last one game. It is. Why did they do that?
And that's the same problem as Megas. It's like you could get a really cool Mega, but if it doesn't last, it's like, bro, it's just sad.
It's I just posted something about Ultra Necrozma like a day ago, and somebody commented under my tweet and said, is this a new Pokemon? Or like, I was like, is this a new? Or and it was like something
so many
about.
People skipped Ultra Sun, Ultra Moon. Like
they don't even know it exists.
I mean, what? Can you blame them?
No, I was like,
No.
I was gonna comment back, shaking my head, Game Freak. Like, what in the world?
My hottest take. Ultra Sun, Ultra Moon are like S tier Pokemon games. Just the way that they were released made everybody mad.
Yeah, they basically.
I think you're right.
It should have just been a DLC.
If those games came out on Switch a year later with a skip dialogue option, they would be considered the best Pokemon games by the entire fan base. I guarantee you.
Dude, I mean, even honestly, even if there was no Sun and Moon and Ultra Sun, Ultra Moon were the Sun and Moon, like I think
they would be considered the best games.
Yeah, absolutely.
At that time, third versions just need to enhance something, and I
then
feel like
likewise,
it was the same game.
I think though that would have made like Sword and Shield like even worse. Like the reaction to it would have been even worse, you know.
Yeah, probably.
So I wonder where we'd be at now, you know, almost 10 years later, if that at all panned out.
Yeah.
Also, make sure you guys check out JPR's Pokemon podcast, Pokemon Champion League. We're a fan. We're on a quest right now to get every single champion on the podcast. I think we're
collecting them like Infinity Stones, man.
We're missing.
We're
missing 2 more guys.
2 to go.
Then we're gonna have a party.
Zach and Raph.
Hopefully, we're gonna have a party one day.
I'm about to talk to those guys and get them to kick their butt in gear, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Nice. Thank you so much, JPR. Appreciate your time today.
Yes, thanks for being here.
Thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you soon.
Bye.
Thank you very much.
See ya.
Peace.